Okay, here we go. What has happened to the New York Yankees? And what perfect timing. Luis Urias just hit a grand slam off Garrett Cole. The Red Sox are just kicking the crap out of the Yankees. But what has caused the downfall of the New York Yankees? They're 60-62 as of right now. They've lost 6 straight, about to be 7 straight, it seems. But I think a lot has led to this point with the Yankees over the last few years. I'm going to break it down in this video. Let's get to it. To start things off, I'm going to go over some bad trades, and I'm going to go back to December of 2017 when the Yankees traded for Giancarlo Stanton. Going back to the Marlins, they sent Starlin Castro, Jorge Guzman, and Jose Devers. Now, none of those players really panned out for the Marlins, but the goal for the Marlins was to part with that 13-year, $325 million contract. Stanton was one of the best hitters in the game at the time, so him going into that Yankee lineup looked absolutely amazing. But the numbers have not really panned out. He's had a lot of injuries since then, only 87 games on average per season, and the numbers, not the numbers you'd expect for what he's getting paid. He's averaging a 248 batting average, a 332 on base, a 491 slugging, and 823 OPS. You know, he's had a couple of good seasons. 2018, he had 38 homers, 100 RBIs. 2021, 35 homers, 97 RBIs. He had 31 homers last year, despite a 211 batting average and a 297 on base. Again, not really the numbers you would expect for what he's getting paid. But just to make it worse, you could have had a guy like Bryce Harper. If you had just waited one more offseason, you could have really made a strong push for him. And even going back to that offseason, Brian Cashman said he wanted no part of Bryce Harper. He said they had too many outfielders, which, I don't know. That's just crazy to me that you couldn't make room for a guy like Bryce Harper. I know you had Giancarlo Stanton at the time, so adding another big contract like that would have been a lot. But you could have just waited one offseason, for someone like Harper. I mean, I'm just saying, that lefty bat at Yankee Stadium would have been amazing. I mean, if you actually go back to when, he was being called the LeBron James of baseball. Remember the Sports Illustrated article that they made way back? He said in this article, in this interview, that when asked about his goals as a ball player, Bryce Harper said to be in the Hall of Fame, definitely, and to play in pinstripes. This guy wanted to be a Yankee. I mean, I don't know. I think that's crazy. And even if you didn't go after someone like Bryce Harper, sure, you had too many outfielders. Okay, fine. But why not go after someone like Manny Machado? Manny Machado, this is another guy that wanted to play for the Yankees. Remember, it was him and Harper in that offseason. And actually, they could have traded for Manny Machado. Remember John Morosi back in 2018? He was saying here the Orioles were willing to trade Manny Machado to the Yankees as long as the Yankees included Justice Sheffield. And if we remember with Justice Sheffield, he ended up going back to the Mariners in the deal for James Paxton. James Paxton ended up being okay for the Yankees for a little bit, but ended up having a ton of injuries. And now he's on my Red Sox, and Justice Sheffield ended up being a bust. So it's like, it's crazy that you could have had Manny Machado. I mean, I'm just saying, man, I don't know. And then in the offseason, Manny Machado talked about this at the All-Star game, or at the All-Star game festivities last year, saying that the Yankees didn't really want him as a free agent. They had made an offer. It was around like 8 years, a little over $200 million, not really a competitive offer. So I'm just thinking here, the Yankees, they got Giancarlo Stanton, and, fine, but you didn't want Harper, you didn't want Machado. I don't know. Just to, let's go a little more into the future here. You didn't want Harper, right? Left-handed bat. So you ended up making a trade for Joey Gallo. Remember, this was a trade at the time. Yankee fans were like, okay, big power-hitting lefty bat, Yankee Stadium. Perfect. But we all know what happened with Joey Gallo. Ended up just being just a massive bust. But going back to the Rangers, you had a guy like Ezekiel Duran in this deal, and he's having a pretty good season with the Texas Rangers. So, in the end, that trade didn't really work out. And then, instead of Manny Machado, a few years later, you end up trading for Josh Donaldson along with Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. And then you ended up trading away Gio Urshela, and look how bad this deal has turned out. Josh Donaldson has just been a massive bust for the Yankees. Going back over the last 2 seasons now, over 165 games, he's averaged a 207 batting average with a 293 on base and a 385 slugging. These are awful numbers. He's on the IL right now with a calf issue. IKF has been serviceable. He hasn't been amazing, but he has been playing a lot of different positions. He's been okay for the Yankees, but not really anything special. by any means. Let's go to the pitching side of things. They traded for Jameson Taillon. Remember this deal where, this is going to be another arm for the rotation. Okay, Jameson Taillon, decent guy, decent pitcher for the rotation. They ended up sending back Roansy Contreras. He was the big name in this deal. Roansy Contreras, sure, the numbers aren't quite there this year, but this guy's still only 23 years old. He has really good stuff. I'm sure he could end up being a really decent pitcher for the Pirates. And even if he doesn't end up being a decent pitcher for the Pirates, you could have had Joe Musgrove. Why not go after Joe Musgrove instead of Jameson Taillon? Joe Musgrove has put up really good numbers with the Padres, and I thought Musgrove, out of the two, was the better guy to go after. So I don't know what the Yankees were doing here. It just seemed like when they made the Stanton trade, it wasn't working out, and then you ended up, not going after Harper. You could have went after Machado. You didn't go after him either. So I don't know. The Yankees, I think, have made poor decisions with their trades, ever since the Giancarlo Stanton trade. And then go back to last season when they traded for Frankie Montas. This one ended up being a huge bust. They sent back 3 pitchers in J.P. Sears, Ken Waldichuk, and Luis Medina. Now, their numbers aren't really amazing as of right now, but these are 3 young pitchers under a lot of control that could end up being pretty decent for the A's down the road, while Frankie Montas will end up pitching only 8 games in his career for the Yankees. Just got shoulder surgery recently, and he's going to be a free agent after this season. But the worst part of this, for me, is that you could have had Luis Castillo. They were in the running for him. It seemed like that maybe they were the favorites for him at one point, and they ended up not getting a deal done. The Mariners came in. They gave the Reds an offer that they couldn't refuse. But why couldn't the Yankees pony up for Luis Castillo? And he's been really solid for the Mariners since going there. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about the Yankees when it comes to all these trades. Now let's get into some free agents, and let's stay on the pitching side of things. This past offseason, they signed Carlos Rodon, and this has been a huge bust so far. Carlos Rodon, he started the year on the IL. He was having forearm issues, back issues. He came back recently, but through 6 starts so far, he has a 7.33 ERA, a FIP of 7.37. Sure, he put up some good numbers with the Giants last year, but this guy has never had a good track record when it comes to his health. So the fact that the Yankees went after Carlos Rodon after a couple of off seasons when they could have had some other pitchers like Kevin Gausman. This is a guy who I thought would have been perfect for the Yankees. He would have been perfect with Garrett Cole. He would have been that perfect number 2 guy, Cole and Gausman as the 1-2 punch. I thought would have been amazing, and Gausman is having a great season with the Blue Jays so far. You could have went after another lefty in Eduardo Rodriguez. Sure, he went MIA last year, but he's come back this year. He's having a really good year. Why couldn't the Yankees go after someone like him? He had experience in the AL East, lots of experience pitching in Yankee Stadium. I think that's just crazy. You couldn't have gone after someone like him. Even someone like Marcus Stroman had experience pitching with the Mets in New York. So I don't know. You could have even had Justin Verlander, who ended up going to the Mets this past offseason. Why couldn't you pony up a little extra for Justin Verlander? Even if it was only for a couple of years, you could have had Cole and Verlander back in the rotation together. So I don't know. I just think, the Yankees, they were hesitant on a lot of free agents, and then they ended up splurging, and the guy you splurged for was Carlos Rodon, who's had a bad history when it comes to injuries and staying on the field. I don't know. Just another poor decision, if you ask me. Now let's talk about player development. Sure, free agency, trades, those are all fun and dandy, but the bread and butter for every organization is effective player development, getting your minor leaguers ready for the major leagues. And it seems like there's been ineffective player development happening in the Yankees organization, according to Foul Territory. Great channel over there. Go check them out. But they had some former Yankee minor leaguers talk about the lack of player development happening in the Yankee organization. Let's take a look at those comments.
In 2020, before COVID hit spring training, we played a game called pitchers versus hitters. The only way to score a point was to walk or hit a ball 95 miles an hour plus, and there's no baseball being taught there anymore. No base running, moving runners, fundamentals. The Yankees minor leaguers would get radar gunned for how fast you could throw a medicine ball from your hitting stance. Tees were banned, hitting tees. Only training was to maximize how hard you can hit a ball, not how to hit, not how to get out of a slump, picking spots to be aggressive, hunting a pitch, strategies with runners in scoring position, all important hitting combos that make successful big leaguers.
So hearing those comments are pretty crazy, and don't get me wrong, I like the analytics, I like the numbers, I like the data. I think those things can be good tools to help a player get to the next level, but there has to be a feel for the game as well. There has to be an emphasis on the mechanics of the swing. There has to be an emphasis on the fundamentals of the game. Maybe there could be something wrong mechanically with the swing. Maybe the way they're rotating, maybe the way they're striding, or it could be the approach. Maybe swing more in certain counts, maybe take more pitches in certain counts. Maybe you got to change something with how you're scouting the pitchers. Something could be affecting a player, and it's not just all about the exit velocities and how hard you're hitting the ball. Sometimes it's just about making some decent contact. And if we actually go here to the numbers, going back to 2020, the Yankees only rank 19th in contact percentage. So I think the Yankees really need to stop just leaning so heavily on the analytics and start getting back to some more fundamentals, getting back to just looking at the mechanics of the swing, whether that's, something biomechanically or just something with the bat path in itself. I'm also a believer in challenging prospects as well. I mean, Oswald Peraza, this has been a guy in the Yankees system now for a few years. He has gotten a taste of the major leagues. He was even playing playoff baseball just last year. But why isn't Oswald Peraza getting more of a role on this team? Why can't he go through his bumps at the major league level? He's down in AAA as of right now. Not great numbers over the 19 games that he has so far this year, but why can't you just let him work through these struggles? Even someone like Estevan Florial, this guy was like, the most favorite trade piece for Yankee fans out there. But this is a guy that's been in the system now for what feels like years, and he's actually hitting well in AAA this year, hitting .290, a .383 on base, a .573 slugging, 23 homers, 59 RBIs, 19 stolen bases. Why can't this guy get time at the major league level? It just seems like he's going to be in the minor leagues, forever. You've got a couple other guys here. If we actually go down here to Yuendrys Gomez, he was once the number 8 prospect in pipeline. He's been down in the minors for quite a bit now. He's 23 years old, so he's definitely still got time, but he's been putting up some decent numbers. Why isn't this guy getting moved along? Why not call up the number 3 prospect, Everson Pereira? He's having a great year between AA and AAA. Overall, he's hitting 300 with a .366 on base, a .532 slugging, 16 homers, 62 RBIs. I mean, I would rather have him instead of Jake Bauers out in left field. I just feel like the Yankees, they need to challenge these guys more, put them in more challenging situations, and in the end, that could end up making them better in the long run. And then there was Deivi Garcia. This guy was putting up some pretty decent numbers from 2017 to 2019. He came up in the COVID year, 2020, had a couple of good starts there, but after that, his numbers just completely declined. In 2021, he had a 6.85 ERA in AAA. 2022, a 6.89, 5.74 in 2023, ended up getting released. The White Sox ended up picking him up, but this is a guy who was the number 3 prospect in your system at one point. Why did this guy not turn into anything? Not only is the overemphasis of the analytics affecting the Yankees in the minor leagues, it's affecting them at the major league level as well. If we go back to last year, the Yankees did rank 4th in WRC+, but if you take out Aaron Judge's historic season and that one stretch of Matt Carpenter going absolutely crazy, the Yankees team WRC+ would have only been a 98, which would have ranked in the bottom half of the league. If we go take a look at some other numbers as well, earlier I mentioned the Yankees over the last few years only ranked 19th in contact percentage. If we go take a look a little further, the Yankees this year actually have the 4th worst weighted grounded into double play runs with a negative 3.8. If we take a look a little further, the Yankees this year with runners in scoring position only ranked 28th in WRC+. So focusing so much on the exit velocities and the other analytics, it's really affecting, I think, just them playing just some good, pure baseball, in my opinion. Now let's take a look at a few former Yankees having more success with other teams. Let's start with Gary Sanchez with the Padres. He's only hitting .215 with a .293 on base, but he has a slugging of .490. That's way better than what he was doing with the Yankees in his last couple of seasons with them. Earlier, we mentioned Joey Gallo. He was awful with the Yankees, but since going to the Twins, he's been a bit better. Sure, batting average of .185 is very low, but Joey Gallo always has a low batting average. If we take a look at the slugging, it's hits, 458. He's got 20 homers, a 111 WRC plus. Those are way better numbers than what he was putting up with the Yankees. And then there's Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks was abysmal with the Yankees over the last few seasons. But with the Orioles, over 43 games, he's having way more success, hitting 261, a 355 on base, a 440 slugging. I mean, my goodness, it just goes to show that the Yankees' philosophy, it's affecting the players that they have now, but it's also showing because these players are having more success on other teams. In the end, I think Hal Steinbrenner needs to make some changes in the organization. I would start with Brian Cashman. He's been there since 1998. Sure, he's made some good moves in the past, but I think recently he's made more bad moves than good. I think they need a fresh start in that position, someone that's going to bring the Yankees in a new direction. If we take a look here at some other people in the organization, Cashman's been there since 86. He's been the GM since 98. But they got these other people here like Gene Afterman. She's been there since 2001. Michael Fishman since 2005. Tim Nehring since 2007. Damon Oppenheimer since 2001. Kevin Reese since 2007. These people have been here for a long time. I think the Yankees should make some changes. I think they should make some changes in the analytical department. I think they should bring in some new coaches throughout the minor league and the major league system. But that's just my opinion. Tell me what you think down below in the comments. What do you think of the Yankees right now as an organization? What do you think they need to do? What changes do you think they need to make? But that's all I have for right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.